right, you don't need to be a scientist to know about 70% of the Earth's water, or Earth's surface, I should say, is water. Getting ahead of myself. It did take a scientist, though, to tell us about 165 million acres of the United States. The surface of the U.S. is covered in sagebrush. It's a small percentage, but it's a big chunk out here in the West. It's part of our native ecosystem, and it's important to our way of life. All you got to do is ask local ranchers about it. But the sagebrush is losing ground to expanding population, to drought, and wildfires. But what if they could create a species, I don't know, with better resistance to two of those things, maybe, I guess? Andrew Bartline talked to researchers at Boise State who are uncovering the the secret behind the most resilient sagebrush possible, right?
Yeah, and that was right off the cuff, too, I imagine.
Like the $6 million man, we can rebuild him, and we have the technology.
Yes, well, it's very complex, though, Brian, very complex. There's a couple reasons, the top one being mapping a sagebrush genome had never been done before. And if you don't remember from high school biology all too well, think back to those ATs, the C's, the G's, how they pair together. I had to think about it too. Well, scientists, they have finally accurately mapped this for humans in 2003. Sagebrush hadn't been done until Boise State did it, and that genome is 2.5 times larger.
Where you're from, you know sagebrush. It's a third of America. It's a big part of land, and it's highly threatened. So it's huge, huge, but it's shrinking. We have only half of the total part remaining, right? All of the threats in the environment, and we exposed, heat waves, mega drought, and all of this. This plant does not really do well, and then fire comes on top. And when fire comes, then there's no regeneration. We may lose our environment. And the idea was to work on trying to understand, how can, in general, organisms respond to change in the environment? Ultimately, what we want to do is restoration, right? And finding these plants that are going to be resilient so that they can sustain our way of life and sustain our economy. And so as we do this, we need to build tools. One of those tools that we started building is this genome. What makes your DNA? And we come to the conclusion that although they look alike, there are two different kinds of sagebrush out there, making two different strategies, and now we need to know which one is best. The threats that we can do experiments on is drought and heat, right? And the combination of both, right? So it's this scientific process when you just go and crank, kind of the eve to create this genome comes from kind of at the border, so still in Idaho, but at the border with Oregon. That's where it's from. And what got me really excited is this idea of being able to directly work with my community where I work. But this plant is so iconic to this country, and it's so iconic to its health.
The project has been in motion for 5 years, and that discovery of two different types of sagebrush is their latest, and despite the fact that they look exactly the same. So that's really the utility to it, Brian. There's a different sagebrush you'll find in Utah than what you'll find in Idaho, trying to figure out, well, which one's better. So if a fire does come through, does take out a whole area, well, which sagebrush do you want to replace it with? Probably the stronger stuff.
Oh, that's true. And it's good for expelling spirits from your home. That's what I do know about sage.
Is it?
Sage is, anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
You should try it.
I'll look into it.